In the silent dark of space, far beyond the edges of the known stars, a signal was moving. It was weak, old, but steady. It crossed dust clouds, past dying suns, and slipped between the arms of galaxies. It carried a strange rhythm, something alive inside it, something that refused to fade. Most signals in the galaxy were like whispers, lost too quickly. But this one was different. It had traveled for hundreds of years, still holding its strength. It was not just noise, it was a message. On the far side of a great spiral arm, a group of alien explorers caught the signal. Their ship was large, shaped like a blade of silver, gliding in the void. Inside, the crew were busy with quiet work when suddenly their machines lit up. The signal had entered their range. The leader of the crew, an alien with long arms and sharp eyes, leaned closer to the screen. The sound was strange. It was not the normal chatter of stars, not the normal background of space. It had order. It had a pattern. The crew gathered around. Some tilted their heads, confused. Others frowned with unease. They listened as the signal repeated itself. A rising tone, a pause, then a strange wave of sound that almost seemed like music. Then voices. Not one voice, but many, speaking together, rising and falling. The words were unknown, the meaning hidden, but there was emotion inside it. The aliens had never heard anything like it. The leader ordered the machines to break it apart to find the source. Numbers spilled across the screen. The source was a small blue planet far away, sitting quietly near a yellow star. The ship's navigator whispered the name they used for it in their star maps. Sal 3, the humans called it Earth. The aliens did not know much about Earth. To them, it was a small, unimportant world, rich with water and storms, but weak in power. It had not been a concern for the great empires of the galaxy. No great fleets had ever visited it. No one thought the people of Earth could send something this strong. But now, here it was, a signal still traveling across space, strong enough to be caught by their machines. Some of the crew laughed. They said the planet was primitive, its people simple. How could they send something so powerful? But others did not laugh. Their eyes stayed on the screen. They listened again and again. The sound was not random. It carried something more. Music, voices, strange codes hidden inside. It was not just a signal. It was a story. Whispers began to spread inside the ship. Some said it was dangerous, a warning. Others said it was a mistake, a ghost from the past. Still, the leader of the crew felt something different. He felt the signal had a purpose. It was reaching out, calling across the stars. The crew worked through the long hours of space night, decoding little pieces of the sound. They pulled out fragments of music, notes rising like waves. They found laughter. They found words they could not understand. They found strange rhythms like drums of war. Every part of it was alive. It was not a dead broadcast. It was the voice of a people trying to say, "We are here." The more they listened, the more the ship grew quiet. A heavy silence wrapped around the crew. The sounds seemed to echo in their minds, making them uneasy. One of them whispered, almost afraid, that the signal felt as if it was watching them back. That thought made the others shift uncomfortably. Signals did not watch. Messages did not look back. And yet, when they played the sound again, many felt the same chill. The navigator suggested they should erase it, delete it from their systems, and move on. Nothing good could come from chasing such a signal. The universe was full of dangers. Sometimes silence was safer. But the leader refused. Something deep inside told him this was no ordinary message. This was history. This was discovery. Perhaps this was destiny. As the crew rested, the leader stayed awake, watching the faint pulse of the signal on the screen. He thought of the planet that had sent it. What kind of beings could create such strange beauty? What kind of minds could send voices across stars long before they even knew who was listening? He imagined them looking up at their night sky, wondering if someone was out there. He imagined their small world, fragile and bright, yet bold enough to shout into the galaxy. The leader's thoughts were broken when the signal changed. For hours it had been steady, repeating in its cycle. But now it bent, twisted, as if a new layer had unfolded. The voices grew sharper, the music deeper, the machines hissed, screens flickered. The crew woke in panic, rushing to their stations. The signal was no longer just a recording. It was moving. It was adapting. One of the crews shouted that this was impossible. No old signal could shift like this. No old message could respond. Yet here it was, growing clearer, stronger, almost as if it had noticed them. The sound filled the ship, rattling through the walls, making hearts pound. The aliens felt a weight pressing on them, something unseen but powerful. In that moment, fear and wonder fought inside every mind. Were they the hunters, or had they just been hunted? Was this a gift or a trap? The leader gripped the edge of his console, staring at the glowing lines of data. He could not turn away. Something inside him whispered that this was only the beginning, and far away. On a blue world under a golden sun, the humans carried on with their lives, not knowing that their ancient signal had been caught. Not knowing that across the void, eyes were watching, hearts were trembling, and destinies were shifting. The signal of Earth had been heard, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the deep halls of the alien ship, the signal of Earth continued to play. The crew no longer laughed at it. The strange sound had taken hold of their thoughts. Some felt uneasy, others felt curious, but none of them could ignore it. The voices inside the signal seemed to whisper of things unknown, and the music echoed like a memory of something they had never lived. The leader called a meeting in the central chamber. The room was dark, glowing with soft lights from the walls. Every member of the crew sat around a long table, their faces tense. The signal pulsed in the background, faint but steady. The leader looked at them and asked a simple question. "What do we do now?" The navigator spoke first. His voice was sharp, filled with worry. He said the signal should be destroyed, erased from their system. He argued that signals like this were never harmless. A small planet sending something so powerful was unnatural. It meant a trap. It meant danger. "This is not a gift," he said. "It is a warning." Another voice, calm and thoughtful, disagreed. She was the ship's scientist, and her eyes were wide with curiosity. She said the signal was unique, something the galaxy had never seen before. To throw it away would be foolish. She argued that knowledge was worth the risk. "If this is truly from Earth," she said, "then they are more than they appear. We must learn why," the crew murmured, divided. Fear pressed against curiosity. Safety pressed against discovery. In the far corner, the youngest member of the crew whispered softly, almost to himself, "What if they are calling us?" His words made the chamber fall silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The idea was dangerous, almost unthinkable. A planet reaching out to them, across the stars, across centuries, it felt impossible. And yet the signal continued to echo, as if answering his question. The leader sat quietly, his long fingers tapping the table. He listened to every word. He felt the weight of their fear, but he also felt something else inside his chest. A pull, a need to follow the mystery. Finally, he spoke. His voice was low but firm. "We will not erase it. We will not turn away. We will follow the signal to its source." The chamber erupted in voices. Some shouted in protest, some in excitement. The leader raised his hand, silencing them. His eyes were sharp as he said, "This is not only about danger. This is about truth. The galaxy has ignored Earth for too long. But Earth has spoken, and now we must listen." That night, the ship floated in the quiet sea of stars. The crew could not sleep. Each one felt the pressure of the decision. Some dreamed of riches and knowledge, others dreamed of destruction and war. And in the silence of the corridors, the signal kept repeating, filling the ship with its strange, living sound. The next morning cycle, the Fleet Council was called. Across the stars, the leader's report was sent to their empire. In the grand chamber of the council, many powerful voices debated. Some scoffed at the idea. They said Earth was nothing, a world of dust and storms. Its people had no fleets, no empires, no power. The signal, they claimed, was just noise and accident of nature. but others did not dismiss it so easily. The strength of the signal disturbed them. If Earth could send such a message long ago, then what might they have built now? Could they be hiding strength? Could they be waiting for the galaxy to notice them? Whispers filled the chamber. Some feared Earth. Others saw opportunity. The council argued for hours. Finally, a decision was made. A fleet would go to Earth. They would find the truth. If Earth was weak, it would be ignored forever. If Earth was strong, then the galaxy must know. And if Earth was dangerous, then the galaxy must be ready. The leadership was chosen to lead the fleet. Orders came quickly, and preparations began. The crew worked without rest, but unease spread among them. As they loaded supplies, as they checked their engines, the signal continued to play in the background. Every step, every sound, seemed tied to the mysterious rhythm from Earth. One engineer swore he heard a new sound hidden inside the message, like a heartbeat. Another said the voices had changed, growing louder, clearer. The scientists smiled at this, saying it was only their minds playing tricks. But deep inside, even she felt the strangeness. The signal seemed alive. When the fleet finally gathered in the void, hundreds of ships glowed like stars. Their engines hummed, ready to tear across the galaxy. The leader stood on the bridge of his ship, staring out at the dark. He thought of Earth, a small world circling a small sun. He thought of the people who had sent this message long ago, shouting into the emptiness. He wondered if they knew someone would finally listen. As the countdown began, the crew took their positions. The signal played one last time, echoing through the halls. The leader whispered to himself, words only he could hear. "We are coming." The fleet engines roared to life. Light burst across the stars. The ships stretched forward faster and faster, vanishing into the black. Behind them, the signal of Earth continued to pulse, alone in the void, still calling. Ahead of them, destiny waited. The galaxy was about to change. And Earth, whether ready or not, would soon have visitors. The fleet moved through the stars like a great river of fire. Hundreds of ships glowed in the darkness, their engines burning bright, leaving long trails of light behind them. To any who might have been watching, it would have looked like a storm of comets rushing across the galaxy. The destination was far, but the signal of Earth was their guide. It pulsed through their systems like a steady drum, pulling them closer with every moment. Inside the lead ship, the crew worked in silence. The leader stood on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the endless black ahead. No one spoke loudly anymore. Every voice was quiet, every step cautious. The strange signal seemed to live inside the ship now, echoing faintly in the walls, whispering in their ears, even when no machine was playing it. Some swore they could hear it in their dreams. Days passed in the vastness of space. The fleet crossed star systems, slid past dead worlds, and moved through fields of broken rock where old battles had taken place long ago. The crew saw the ruins of ancient machines torn apart and left drifting. The galaxy had always been filled with conflict, and the sight of wrecks reminded them of the risks ahead. Yet still the signal pulled them onward. One night's cycle, strange things began to happen. In the engineering bay, a machine stopped working for no reason. When the engineers opened it, they found no damage, no fault. But when they restarted the system, the signal's sound came through the wires, humming like a song. The engineers looked at each other, unsettled. Machines did not sing. Machines did not carry voices. In another part of the ship, a navigator woke screaming. He claimed he had seen the planet in his dreams, a blue world full of light and storms. He said the voices from the signal had spoken to him, showing him oceans, mountains, and skies filled with fire. He begged the others to believe him. Some laughed nervously, but many felt a cold fear. If the signal could reach their minds, what else could it do? The scientist continued her studies, breaking apart the layers of the signal. She discovered more than just voices and music. There were hidden codes buried deep inside, patterns of numbers and shapes. They did not seem random. They seemed designed, as if someone had hidden messages within the message. She stayed awake for many hours, chasing the codes, her eyes wide with both fear and wonder. She whispered to herself, This is not only a signal, this is a key. The leader grew more serious with every passing cycle. He saw his crew becoming restless, whispering in the halls, avoiding sleep. Fear was spreading, and fear could break them before they even reached Earth. He gathered them in the central chamber once more. His voice was steady as he said, "Do not let fear control you. We are explorers. We search for truth. Whatever this signal is, it will not destroy us. It will reveal something greater." His words calmed them, but only for a while. The journey stretched on, and the signal never stopped. It played like a heartbeat in the background, sometimes soft, sometimes sharp. Some days it felt like a friend. Other days it felt like a threat. Halfway through their journey, the fleet entered a region of space filled with strange energy storms. Waves of light crashed against their shields, and bolts of color danced across the dark. Many ships struggled to keep formation. One ship vanished into the storm, never seen again. The crew whispered that the storm was not natural, that the signal had led them here on purpose. The leaders silenced such talk, but even he felt the weight of doubt pressing inside. When they finally escaped the storm, the fleet was smaller, scarred, but still moving. In the quiet after the chaos, the signal grew louder, sharper, almost as if it had been waiting for them. It filled every chamber, every corridor, like a voice shouting in triumph. Some of the crew covered their ears, trembling. Others stood frozen, listening with wide eyes. The scientists made a chilling discovery then. The signal had changed again. It was no longer the same as before. It had adjusted, shifting in rhythm, as if it had been watching their journey and responding to their progress. She showed the leader the data, her hands shaking. "It knows we are coming," she whispered. The leader stared at the screen, silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Good, let it know. We are not hiding." The fleet pressed on. Days became weeks, weeks stretched into more. The stars grew familiar, their maps showed they were close. Earth was no longer just a dot on a star chart. It was ahead, waiting. But tension filled every heart. The youngest crew members whispered in the halls that Earth might not be a planet at all. Perhaps it was a weapon. Perhaps the signal was bait, pulling them into a trap. The older members shook their heads, but even they did not know the truth. Then, one cycle, the fleet slowed. The leader stood on the bridge as the signal shifted once more. For the first time, the voices inside grew clear. They were not only sounds anymore, they were words. Alien words, yes, but shaped with rhythm, sharp and strong. The crew listened, their eyes wide, their hearts pounding. None of them understood the meaning, but they all felt the weight of it. It was no longer just a call. It was a challenge. The leader looked out into the stars, his mind heavy with thought. The signal of Earth was not only a mystery, it was alive. It was waiting. And as the fleet moved closer, each member of the crew knew the truth deep inside. Whatever waited on that small blue world, it would change the galaxy forever. The fleet slowed as the blue world came into view. At first, Earth was only a pale among stars. But as the ships drew closer, it grew larger, brighter, more alive. Clouds wrapped around it like white ribbons, oceans glimmered with deep blue light, and the continents shone with specks of gold in the night. The crew stood in silence, staring through their windows and screens. Many had traveled across hundreds of worlds, but none had looked like this. Earth was small, yes, but it carried a strange beauty. It felt alive in a way that unsettled them. The signal pulsed stronger now, no longer distant, no longer faint. It filled every chamber, every ear. The voices rose and fell like a chorus, and the music thundered like the beating of a heart. The closer they came, the clearer it grew. Some of the crew covered their ears, whispering that it was too much. Others stood frozen, unable to look away, caught by the strange rhythm of the sound. The leader stood tall on the command deck, his eyes locked on the planet below. For many cycles, he had imagined this moment. Now, here it was. Earth, the source of the signal. A small, fragile world, yet bold enough to send a voice across the stars. He felt no laughter in his chest, only a weight of respect. As the ships moved into orbit, new things appeared before them. Small objects circled the planet, metal shapes, drifting slowly. Some were broken, some still alive, flashing with weak lights. The fleet scanned them and realized they were machines, simple satellites built by humans long ago. To the aliens, they looked primitive, almost laughable. Yet they were proof that humans had reached for the stars with their own hands. Then, without warning, the signal shifted. It no longer echoed across the galaxy. It was aimed directly at them. The voices sharpened, the music struck like thunder, and the crew felt the weight of attention. It was as if Earth itself had turned its eyes upward, looking straight into their ships. Fear spread like fire through the halls. The navigator whispered, "They know we are here." The scientist rushed to her station, her fingers moving fast across the console. She checked and rechecked the data, but the answer was always the same. The signal was no longer blind. It was focused. It had locked onto the fleet. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "They are responding." The crew erupted in confusion. How could humans respond so quickly? How could such a young species sense their arrival? Some shouted for retreat, others for silence. The leader raised his hand, commanding them to be still. His eyes never left the glowing planet below. He said only one word: "Wait." The fleet hovered in the shadows of Earth, waiting. Hours passed. The signal grew calmer, its wild chorus softening into something slower, more measured. Then, something new appeared on their screens. A stream of data-pure numbers, flowing in patterns of perfect order. It was mathematics, the language of the universe. No words, no music, no voices, only shapes and numbers. Simple, direct, undeniable. The crew stared at it. For the first time, they understood. The humans were not only shouting into the void, they were speaking directly to them. A greeting, perhaps. Or a warning. The leader leaned forward, his voice steady but heavy. "This is no accident. They know what they are doing." As the fleet circled the planet, the crew continued to scan. They saw continents filled with cities, glowing with light in the night. They saw machines moving across the oceans and skies. They saw patterns of war and peace written across the surface. Humanity was not hidden. Humanity was alive, busy, restless, reaching, dreaming. The crew felt unease settle into their bones. Some whispered that the humans were too dangerous. Others said they were still weak, still unready for the galaxy. But none could deny the truth. This small planet had sent a signal strong enough to cross the stars, and now it spoke directly to them. The youngest member of the crew, the same one who had once whispered that Earth was calling, now spoke again. His voice was soft but certain. "They are not afraid of us. They want us to hear them." The chamber grew quiet. His words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. For so long, the galaxy had ignored Earth, but Earth had never been silent. It had spoken, and now it demanded to be heard. The scientist continued decoding the numbers. Slowly, she began to see patterns. They were not random at all. They carried rhythm almost like music, and hidden within them was something else, something deeper. A pulse, repeating again and again, as if saying, "We are here. We are ready." The fleet grew restless. The crew looked to their leader, waiting for his decision. Would they respond? Would they retreat? Or would they strike first, before Earth revealed more? The leader remained still, his eyes fixed on the blue world. At last he spoke, his voice low and calm. "This is not the planet we thought it was. This is not a silent world. This is a voice. And voices must be answered." No one argued. The crew felt the truth in his words, even if fear still lived inside their hearts. As the fleet floated above Earth, the signal grew stronger, brighter, sharper. It no longer sounded like just voices or music. It sounded like a drum, a warning, a challenge, and an invitation. All at once, and in that moment, every alien heart understood one thing clearly. Earth was not just another world. Earth was something new, something different, something dangerous. The signal of Earth had turned its gaze upon them. And now, The galaxy would have to decide how to answer. The fleet floated in silence above the blue planet. Earth turned slowly below them, wrapped in clouds, glowing with the lights of cities. The signal pulsed steady in their systems, no longer distant, no longer weak. It was here, alive, watching them. The aliens waited, tense, every heart heavy with fear and curiosity. None dared to speak too loudly. The question pressed against them like the weight of a star. What will the humans do? Then it began. From Earth, a new transmission rose. It came not in voices this time, but in pure rhythm and numbers. The codes flashed on their screens, sharp and precise. 121, 2 long short, like a heartbeat made of light. It was simple, yet powerful. The scientist leaned forward, her eyes wide. "They are speaking in mathematics," she whispered. "The one language that all species understand." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The humans had chosen the language of the universe. Not words, not sounds, but truth. It was a greeting that no one could ignore. The signal changed again. Shapes appeared. Patterns of circles and lines spinning across their screens. At first, the crew thought it was random, but slowly, the images grew clear. A circle with smaller circles around it. The map of a solar system. A small dot marked with light the third planet from its star. Earth, the humans were showing them who they were, where they lived. The chamber grew silent. Such openness was shocking. No species gave away its home so easily. To reveal a world's place among the stars was to risk everything. It meant trust, or it meant a challenge. The navigator's voice trembled as he spoke. "They are not hiding. They want us to find them." The leader's eyes stayed on the screen. His face showed no fear, but inside his thoughts raced. To show your home meant only one thing: confidence. Either the humans were so weak they did not understand the risk, or they were so strong they had no fear of being found. Which one was true? He could not yet decide. The signal shifted again. The codes grew faster, sharper, and then came sound. Music filled the ship, rising like a storm. The crew froze as the strange voices returned. They were human voices now, carried clear through the dark. The words were unknown, but the tone was unmistakable. Some voices were calm, some loud, some angry, some joyful. Together they carried one message: humanity was alive. The youngest crew member whispered, almost in awe, "They are showing us themselves." The scientist decoded more. She found images hidden in the waves of sound. Simple pictures, made of dots and lines. A hand raised. A human figure. A circle of Earth itself. They were old images, but powerful. They carried meaning across species, across time. We exist. We are here. The crew stared in silence. Some felt wonder. Others felt dread. The navigator muttered, "They are too bold. Too open. A species like this is dangerous." The leader remained calm. He studied the images, the voices, the rhythm. To him it felt less like a greeting and more like a test. The humans were not asking for friendship. They were showing strength. They were saying, "We will not be silent." The fleet received another burst of data. This time, it was longer, deeper, harder to break apart. The scientist worked quickly, sweat on her brow, her hands trembling. When at last she decoded it, her voice shook as she read the translation. It says, "We are ready." The words hit the crew like a wave. Ready? Ready for what? Ready for contact? Ready for war? No one knew. Fear spread across their faces. One engineer shouted that the humans were threatening them. Another said it was a welcome. The voices clashed in the chamber, fear and anger rising together. The leader raised his hand, silencing them all. His voice was calm, but it cut through the noise like a blade. "Listen to what they say, not what you fear. They claim they are ready. But ready can mean many things." The crew fell quiet again, though unease still burned in their hearts. That night, as the fleet drifted in the dark above Earth, many could not sleep. Some stared at the blue planet below, wondering what kind of minds lived there. Others feared that tomorrow would bring war. The youngest dreamed again of voices whispering through the signal, voices that seemed to see into his thoughts. When he awoke, he said nothing, but the fear stayed with him. On the command deck, the leader watched Earth in silence. His eyes were sharp, his mind heavy. He thought of the humans who had sent the first signal long ago, never knowing who would hear it. He thought of the courage or madness it took to shout into the galaxy with nothing but hope. And now, here was Earth, shouting once more, saying clearly, "We are ready." The leader did not smile, but he felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not anger, something else. A sense that history was about to turn. The signal continued, filling the halls of every ship. The crew could not escape it. Every note, every voice, pressed into their minds. It was not only sound, it was presence. Humanity was not only speaking, humanity was standing before them, unseen yet undeniable. As the cycle ended, the leader gave his order. His voice was steady, his eyes locked on the blue planet below. "We will not fire. We will not flee. We will wait. Let us see what humans do next." The fleet obeyed, though fear still clung to them. For the first time in their long journeys, they were not the hunters, not the explorers, not the ones in control. For the first time, they felt as though they were the ones being studied, and far below. On the small blue world, the signal of Earth pulsed stronger than ever. Humanity had spoken. The question now was simple and terrible. What would they do when the galaxy answered back? The fleet remained in orbit above Earth. The blue planet turned slowly, wrapped in white clouds, oceans glowing beneath the light of its sun. The signal had grown quieter now, almost gentle, as if it was waiting. The silence inside the alien ships was heavy. Every crew member felt the same question in their hearts. Who are these humans really? The leader gave his order. Search deeper. Look into their world. Look into their history. We must know what they are. The ships spread their scans across Earth. Beams of light crossed the planet, pulling fragments of data from the atmosphere, the ground, and the networks of human machines. Slowly, images began to appear. The aliens gathered around their screens, and what they saw shocked them. At first they saw pictures of life oceans filled with creatures, forests stretching wide, mountains sharp against the sky. They saw cities glowing in the night, humans walking, building, speaking. The planet was full of movement and sound. To many of the crew, it was beautiful, yet strange. Then the scans went deeper. They showed human history, carved into books, painted on walls, stored inside old machines. The crew leaned closer, silent. What they saw was not only beauty, it was conflict. The screens flashed with images of human wars. Armies clashing, skies burning with fire, machines of destruction tearing across the ground. They saw humans fighting not only enemies, but nature itself, floods, storms, plagues. They saw a species that had nearly destroyed itself many times. It always rose again, one crew member whispered. They should have died long ago. The scientist shook her head slowly. No. Look closer. They did not die. They survived. The images kept flowing. The aliens saw humans building tools from stone, then fire, then metal, then machines that could cross oceans and skies. Every time humanity faced destruction, it adapted. Every time it was pushed down, it rose stronger. The navigator frowned. This is not possible. They are too fragile, too small. How can they survive so much? The leader's eyes narrowed as he studied the screens. Because they refused to stop, more data appeared. Human inventions filled the screen's great towers of glass and steel, flying machines, weapons of terrible power. The crew recoiled when they saw the nuclear fire of old wars, explosions that burned brighter than suns. Yet, even after such destruction, the humans lived on, rebuilding their world from the ashes. One engineer muttered in disbelief. They make war against themselves. And yet they rise again. No species can survive such madness. The scientist leaned forward, her voice quiet but sharp. That is their power. They are not the strongest. They are not the fastest, but they endure. They imagine. They create. That is why they are dangerous. The crew fell silent. The words settled heavy in their minds. Then the scans revealed something even stranger. Among the records of war and struggle, they found art. Paintings of stars, songs of hope, stories of heroes. They saw humans telling tales of impossible journeys, of courage, of rising against darkness. The crew could not understand why a species so busy with survival would spend time creating such things. Yet the art carried power. Even through the cold screens, the aliens felt it. The youngest member of the crew whispered, almost in awe, "They dream while they fight." The scientist nodded slowly. Yes, they dream of more than survival. That is why they reach for the stars. Hours passed as the crew studied humanity. The more they saw, the more unsettled they became. Humans were not like other species. They were not orderly, not predictable. They were chaos and creation bound together. Weak in body, fragile in form, filled with a spirit that refused to break. The leader stood silent through it all, his eyes fixed on the data. Finally he spoke. "The galaxy has ignored them, but we cannot. They are too dangerous to ignore." Fear spread through the crew. Some argued that Earth must be destroyed before it could grow stronger. Others said no humans could be allies, partners in discovery. The debate grew fierce, voices clashing like weapons. The chamber filled with heat and tension, but the signal interrupted them. It rose suddenly. Sharper than before, filling every ship with sound. Voices, music, rhythm it, shook the walls, pressed against their minds. It was as if humanity itself had heard their debate and was answering. The crew froze as the signal carried a single clear message, hidden in numbers and codes. The scientist translated quickly, her voice trembling as she read. "We are not weak." The words hit the chamber like a storm. No one spoke for a long moment. Every crew member felt the weight of them. Humanity was not begging. Humanity was not asking. Humanity was declaring. The leader looked out the window at the small blue world below. It turned slowly, clouds swirling, storms flashing across its surface. His chest grew heavy with thought. He understood now what the signal truly was. It was not only a message. It was not only a greeting. It was a mirror of what humanity had always been, defiant, unbroken, unafraid. The leader spoke quietly, but his voice carried through the room. "We thought this was only a planet. We were wrong. This is a force. The humans have no fleets, no empires, but they have something greater, will, and that is the most dangerous power of all." The crew listened in silence. Fear filled their hearts, but so did respect. As the ship circled Earth, the signal continued to pulse. Each beat was like a heartbeat, steady and strong. It carried not just sound, but spirit, humanity's spirit. And now the aliens could no longer deny it. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, but Earth had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The fleet hung above Earth in silence. The blue world turned below them, storms flashing across its oceans, cities glowing faintly in the night. The signal of Earth pulsed steady in every ship, not loud now, but constant, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. Every alien in the fleet felt it. None could escape it. Humanity was no longer distant. Humanity was here. The crew gathered once more in the command chamber. The leader stood at the front, his face calm, but his eyes sharp with thought. Around him, the crew whispered. Some still wanted to leave, to escape this planet before it was too late. Others wanted to strike, to burn Earth before humans could grow stronger. But none could agree. Fear and respect fought inside their hearts. The scientist spoke, her voice steady but low. "We have searched their world. We have seen their history. They are not like others. They do not give up," youngest crew member added, almost in a whisper. They look small, but they are not small inside." The leader raised his hand and silence fell. He looked out the great window where Earth floated in the dark, beautiful and fragile, yet strangely powerful. He thought of the signal, the words carried across the stars. We are ready. We are not weak. Finally, he spoke. This is not only a planet. This is a beginning. Humanity is not asking us for peace, nor for war. They are showing us what they are, and they are waiting for us to decide. The chamber grew heavy with those words. It was true. Humanity had not begged for help. Humanity had not threatened. They had simply declared themselves. It was bold. It was dangerous. It was unlike anything the crew had seen before. Then the signal changed. For the first time, images appeared in real time. Not ancient records. Not coded patterns. But a message alive in the present. The crew gasped as the screens lit up. A human face appeared. It was simple, almost plain. A woman, middle-aged, eyes calm but sharp. Her voice carried across the ships, not in their language, but the translator worked quickly. The words came clear. We know you are there. The chamber froze. Every alien stiffened, breath caught in their throats. The leader's heart pounded, though his face remained calm. The humans knew. They were not only sending signals blindly into the dark, they were speaking directly to the fleet. The woman's face leaned closer, her eyes burning with strange fire. You listened to our signal. You studied us. You saw our wars, our struggles, our survival, and now you watch us from above. But understand this, we are not afraid of you. We are not waiting for permission to rise. We are already rising. Her voice grew sharper, filled with certainty. We are humanity. We have crossed fire and famine, plague and war. We have stood at the edge of our own destruction and stepped back stronger. You think we are fragile? You think we are weak? But weakness does not endure. Weakness does not reach for the stars. Look at us. We are still here, and we are not leaving. The crew trembled. Some felt awe. Others felt terror. The signal filled every corner of the ships, pressing into their minds, their bones. It was not just words. It was truth. The woman paused, her eyes steady, her voice like iron. If you come with peace, we will meet you with peace. If you come with war, we will meet you with war. But never again will we be silent. We are ready. The image flickered, then vanished. The screens went dark. Only the steady heartbeat of the signal remained. No one in the chamber spoke for a long time. The crew stared at each other, shaken. Some felt the urge to flee at once. Others felt the strange pull of respect, even admiration. But all of them understood one thing. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not to be ignored. The leader turned from the window slowly. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight that none could deny. The humans have declared themselves. They have shown us their power. Not the power of weapons or fleets, but the power of survival, of will, of spirit. They are young, yes, but they will grow. And when they grow, they will shape the galaxy. The chamber was silent. His words sank deep into every heart. At last, the youngest crew member spoke, his voice trembling. So, what do we do now? The leader's eyes returned to the blue planet, shining in the void. His face was unreadable. He stood for a long moment, then finally answered, We watch. We wait, and we remember this day. For the galaxy has changed. Humanity has awakened, and nothing will ever be the same again. The ships remained above Earth, silent, their lights dim against the stars. Below, the world turned on, unaware of the silent watchers above. But in the dark of space, in the hearts of those who had heard the signal, something new had been born: fear, respect, and the knowledge that a small blue world carried a force greater than any empire. The signal pulsed one final time, steady, unbroken. A heartbeat in the void. The heartbeat of Earth, and in that moment, every soul in the fleet knew the truth. Humanity was ready.